Today, I'd like to talk to you about 10 ways to beat burnout as a reseller. If you've been reselling for any length of time, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Hey, I'm Margaret. I've been selling online for like 10 years now, and I have definitely gone through big periods where I have felt the burn of burnout. And these are some of the ways that I have combated that. I'm going through, I don't know if it's a bit of a burnout, but it's definitely a big shift in my reselling business right now. And so I thought this would be a really good time to share some of these tips with you guys. But before we get started, I want to hear from you. What got you into reselling? Did you start flipping things because you had a passion for a certain type of item like glassware or dolls or comic books? Did you get into it because you were trying to make some extra money? I really want to know, what was it that spurred you on to become a reseller? Because that's going to be really important when you start focusing on, when you get to that point. If you've never been there yet, you're lucky. But there's gonna come a time, hopefully maybe not for you, but if it does, be prepared, because you don't necessarily want to throw out the baby with the bathwater and just throw your hands in the air and say we're done here. There are a lot of really good perks for being a reseller. So it's really important for you to take a moment and think back to why you started reselling. And leave me that comment because I want to know. I started reselling after I quit teaching because I started staying home with my kids when they were like 2 and 5. And I realized pretty quickly that I was not the stay-at-home, sit around, not that stay-at-home moms sit around, don't get me wrong, but I could not make my own money. I couldn't ask somebody for money. And so slowly I started going out. I would go to garage sales. I would flip things. My goal was just to make $200 a week so that I would have pocket money if I wanted to go to Starbucks or get a trinket or who knows what. Just, I wanted to make a little bit of extra money for myself throughout the month. And it quickly snowballed. So that was my origin story. But as you can see here, it snowballed in a big, big way. So many positive ways. So it's important for me to remember where I started, my passion for it, my excitement for it, and everything that I look around and see and where it has brought me. Now, being a teacher for this first tip is definitely not the best example, because my first tip is, if you're becoming a reseller, especially if you're coming from a day-to-day, day-in, day-out kind of job, is that you want to set clear boundaries for yourself. Just like when you would go to work, except for teachers and some other professions, there isn't a clock in and a clock out, where you go home and you're done with work, right? And then it's your recreation time. Well, once you become a reseller, as many of you know, or an entrepreneur, it becomes really easy. It's like a slippery slope, because sometimes it's because it's fun and you just want to keep going. And sometimes you start getting your eye on the prize and you're like, I need to make more. And it can be really easy to overwhelm yourself and just not give yourself any breaks. So it's important to find ways to set those boundaries for yourself. And another way was me making sure that I had a specific space in my house that was dedicated for my work, so that I could leave that space and have my home space. And I know if you're in a smaller, say an apartment or a smaller house where you don't have that, try to find ways to make a separation between this is home and this is work over here. Whether you get one of those, I used to have this, it was like an expandable room divider type of thing that I could fold up and put away. But that was really helpful when my room got out of control with stuff. I could just kind of like hide it behind things, behind that. And so that made it really nice, because I could at certain points walk away from it. Another thing that I'm still having to do now is to set at least one day a week where I'm off. I don't work. And for me, it's like that one day a week is I don't go anywhere day. I'm at home and I don't go out and I don't run errands and I don't work. And it's just a day where I make sure that on the calendar, I don't plan anything. There's no events or doctor's appointments or anything. And I just have that day where it's just whatever I feel like doing. If I feel like, I don't really watch that much TV, but if I feel like staying in bed reading, if I feel like taking a bath at 2 in the afternoon, or, it's important to try to carve. And if you can't do a full day, at least a half day, like Sunday afternoon, don't bother me. I need that time for myself, and I'm going to take it, and I'm off duty. So it's really important to set those kind of work and home type of boundaries for yourself. What are some of the ways that you set boundaries for yourself as an entrepreneur, reseller, self-employed business person? My second tip is to automate the process. And I have gotten a little better at this because it's a lot. And I've tried to find as many ways as I can to make it more automated. One of those ways, because I list on multiple platforms, is that I use List Perfectly, where I can go in and create my listings and I can cross-post them onto multiple different platforms. And this is actually going to be very helpful coming up pretty soon because I have been downsizing a bunch of stuff. And so I need to do inventory bad because I need to get my shops up and running again because we just had a big move. And I need to go through and do a physical inventory, which is going to be grueling. But because I have this one site, List Perfectly, versus having to go through eBay and Etsy and Poshmark and Mercari and Facebook Marketplace, and you get the idea. I can go to one place and take care of it all from one place. So that's helpful. Also, because I'm starting really getting back up and running with my print on demand as well, that was kind of coasting as well. Using sites like Printify, Printful, that you can automate, you can make one design and you can put it on multiple different things. So it makes it a lot easier to be able to create multiple merch by Amazon, that kind of deal. If you're in a bazillion, billion videos on merch by Amazon stuff, I'm sure there's probably, and I just did one recently for Printify, which was really, I'm so glad that I jumped into that because anyway, sidebar. And if you do share to social media, I don't really do a lot of social media sharing with my stores, but if you do, then there are lots of programs and ways to automate that process as well. I'd love to hear from you some of the ways that you automate your business on whether it's print on demand, whether it's some of your reselling business. I want to hear from you. Oh, I thought of another way. Another thing that I started doing, thank you ChatGPT, is that I've been using ChatGPT to help me write Etsy, eBay titles and descriptions, especially for some of my print on demand items. It's been a lifesaver because then I don't have to think of like creative titles, and if I put it in there SEO optimized, make sure, and it'll optimize my title for search engines. So that has been really a big game changer for me as well, because my brains can be focused on other things other than what's the best way to write this. Of course, I tweak it if it's not quite right. But the third way to beat burnout as a reseller, entrepreneur, self-employed person, anyone just working from home basically, is to make sure that you schedule in regular breaks throughout the day. This was something that I had to learn, and it's so easy to blow through those breaks. But whether you're setting an alarm on your phone or having some method of, when the cat meows, I'm going to get up and walk around the room. Or when a commercial comes on, if you're working and watching, I'm going to get up and stretch during that time. To find some rhythm where you can have a trigger that will remind you, oh, I need to get up and move my legs. I need to get up and take a walk around the block. So it's really important because it can be very easy to neglect yourself in that way as well, where you just find yourself sitting all day, and it's not good for you. Ask me how I know. So I have really been trying to be more diligent about making sure I get up, making sure that I have a couple of different breaks for movement and exercise throughout my day, whether it's before I start or around lunchtime. I make sure that I take these breaks. Another way is I take batch photos, so I'll get photos of a whole bunch of different stuff. So let's say I take photos of 10 different items, and then it's time to get up and take a break. walk around, go do something else for a little while, and then come back fresh. What are some of the ways that you take breaks? So the fourth way to beat reseller, especially reseller burnout, but as far as other entrepreneurs, it could be just the products or services you're selling, is to diversify. And this has been a game changer for me since day one. It has kept reselling so fresh for me because, and I love that, the fact that there's so many different things to sell, so many niches that you can get into, that it's just almost endless. So I have, just recently gone from selling everything, before that I did a lot of jewelry and smalls. Before that I tried clothes, I tried knickknacks, toys, this and that. And so now, after going through, a year or more of like selling everything from coins all the way to refrigerators, everything in between, it got to be, talk about major burnout. My life was just like ping-ponging all over the place. I couldn't keep up with everything, but I was so on that hustle mode, right? And just realized like, this is not sustainable for me. I can't do this because it was just a lot. Selling locally, selling furniture, selling appliances, selling jewelry, it was just way too much. And that's great, if you've got people you're working with, you've got a partner, you've got employees. But, towards the end of that, this just me. So I realized like, this is not going to be sustainable for me to do. So it's nice that now I can say, you know what? I need to take this car and shift it into a lower gear for a little while because I've gotten to that point where maybe I need to switch things up. So let's say you sell clothes and you're thinking, okay, clothes, I'm getting really tired of this. Maybe add in accessories, purses, shoes, things that are going with that. Or start adding in seasonal items for the holidays. There are so many different ways to diversify when you're a reseller, when you're a small business owner, self-employed. You just have to look for little ways that you can tweak what you're already doing. Or if you, truly, like if you feel like, because that's how I feel. Clothes, people make a killing selling clothes, shoes. I have tried so many times, but it is not in me. I cannot stand it. I know I can go like going through the clothes racks, finding the things, measuring them, and now there's a hole. And there's all these things that it's not that I have a bad attitude. It's just I don't enjoy it. And with as many different options as there are out there for resellers, why would I do this if I don't enjoy it? Especially if like I'm doing okay. Like I know there's more money, and I know there's, people have that, not all people, when I say that, but there are people out there that, especially some influencers, YouTubers, like push, hustle. You gotta, push yourself to the max, make the most, do that. Like, no, I'm good. I'm good, right? So, and then that's the thing too, like coming down from selling all of these things. We made a lot of money when we were doing that, but I realized I was burning the candle not only on both ends, but like I had a couple candles extra in the middle, and I was just spent. So sometimes it's not worth it. Sometimes the money is fantastic, but sometimes it is so not worth it. Like my time is precious. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox. The fifth way is to delegate some of the responsibilities if you're able to. Now, I did for a little while, and maybe like 5 or 6 times, I had a homeschool mom coming over to help me take photographs. And it was fine, but it was one of those things too where, because we had so much going on, it came to be like, it felt like a death pile of photos. Like, I got all these photos I need to go take care of. It was great to have them, but at the same time, it was just like my flow was like, I know. And then at the same time, like then I'm looking at the photos, there might be an error. Oh, I need to go pull it, need to go back and measure. Something was not right. Oh, if they didn't get a photo of the bottom, so it's just like, overall it was good, and then my kids would help with packing sometimes, and that was really nice, or getting the labels on the boxes. So there's ways that even if you don't want to hire someone, that you can delegate responsibilities. I mean, I even consider, because when I lived in the Houston area, I was like a mile from the post office. So I never scheduled the mailman to come pick up my packages. But when I moved to Austin, I was quite a ways from the post office. And so I definitely used that service where the USPS will come and pick up the packages. So I would schedule my package pickup. And that was so nice. So what are some of the other ways that you delegate? This is what I actually would like to hear a lot, because it's not that I have it's not a control thing, but it's like I like to know the flow of everything. I like to know, like, I don't know. I mean, I think it would be different if you had like a team of people or a few people that were regular workers and y'all could set up like a flow amongst the group. That would be awesome. But I feel like maybe that's just where I was lacking that. But I really am not wanting that. I don't want that's not really where I want to take this, reselling business. That's not my goal, is to have a big warehouse. I mean, we had what do you call them? Not shipping containers, storage lockers. We had storage lockers, and it was just when things sold and I had to, like, okay, I've got to go to the storage to go pick, pull our sales and this and that. And like, I think because the storage unit was so much further from the house, we chose it strategically because it was on the freeway, and we wanted it there for local sales stuff because it was a lot more convenient for people coming in, buying appliances and furniture. But when it was time for me to need to go pull my sales, it was like, oh, I gotta drive all the way over there and go get them. So the next way to avoid burnout is to set realistic goals. I honestly am not like one that, I didn't set goals as far as like growth or amount of money in 1 month, but I did set goals for myself as far as like how many things I wanted to get listed a day. And sometimes that was unrealistic. There were times where I could plow through and get 20, 30 listings done, but because I homeschool my kids, it is really challenging, and then like, oh, you got to cook dinner and all of these kinds of things. And so trying to, based on where your life is, especially if you're a caregiver or a parent, or, everybody's got lots of different things going on, dynamic in their life. So trying to compare with a single dude that is unmarried, no kids, that is like living the hustle lifestyle, it's unrealistic, right? So try to think about where you are and what's realistic for yourself. I mean, yes, of course, you want to do better, but at the same time, this is where that burnout comes in. You don't want to completely burn yourself out and then you just dread it, because might as well just go to work, if you're going to just dread what you do. Another way to avoid burnout is to find and engage with a really supportive community. There are so many Facebook groups out there for reseller groups or for small business owners, women entrepreneurs, men entrepreneurs. There's so many groups out there. I would say make sure that you find one that is a positive and supportive group. I have a group for jewelry sellers called Texas Gals Jewelry Lovers. And one of the main rules that we have in this group is nobody is allowed to be nasty or ugly. If your comments are not helpful, just suck it up and swallow it back down, because it's such a dynamic community that, there are people starting out at the very beginning, and then there are people that are really, know their stuff when it comes to jewelry, stones, all sorts of things. And if you can go into a space like that where nobody is going to treat you poorly because you don't know as much as they do, or talk down to you, or things like that. Such a turnoff for me. And unfortunately, there's so many I'm sure there are in every community, in the jewelry community. And that was something that we really curated very specifically when we started that group and there were a lot of people that we had to let go from the group because they just could not adhere to being a supportive community. they wanted to like down talk people and make them feel bad, and when they made mistakes, like criticize them, and it just wasn't helpful. So if you're in a group, make sure that you like the way people are talking. I mean, this is something that I will tell my kids, my friends, you know, especially when they're having issues with other people. Well, you would say to yourself, like, I like this person, I like the information that they give, but I don't like the way they make me feel inside. Well, then that's a clue to you, like, that's not the right place for you. You know, it's like if you've got a friend that's nice to you, but is ugly to other people, you know, you got to watch out, because that can turn pretty quickly on you. You know, you want to have friends in a community that's kind to everybody, welcoming to everybody, supportive of everybody, not just I like you and you and you, right? So it's really important to find that kind of community. Also, I'm trying to get better about this, is that, you know, attend local meetups, whether it's a reseller meetup, or there are, I think the Chamber of Commerce in most cities has, like, I know the one here has like a small business owner. They have one specifically for women. They've got local business owner hangouts, meetings. There are so many different ways to find community in that way. I've gone back and forth about creating like a private community, like like Zoom type hangout, just to be able to like talk about these kind of things that come up. It's just that I don't want to put one more thing on my plate. It's like I crave that, and I know there's so many people that crave that, especially when you're a small business owner, self-employed, reseller. It can be really isolating, you know, and I know that like being able to bounce ideas off people or say, hey, this is going on, what do you think about that? In the like really secure, safe environment is nice. And it's like, I mean, I've been thinking about it for a while, but I'm just like, do I really, do I want to put one more thing on my plate? So I haven't like really 100% decided on that or not. So we'll see. All right. The next thing that you can do to avoid burnout is self-care. And I know some of the things I've talked about already had to do with self-care, but that would include making sure that you're taking care of your physical body, getting exercise, movement, showering, you know, don't get me wrong. You know, I have to like remind myself, not shower, but like, okay, get up, make yourself look like you're going to work, right? Don't get me, I have these days where I'm just in yoga pants and a tank top and my hair's up in a messy bun. You've seen me in some of my other videos where I'm like, this is it today. This is where it's going. And that's fine too. But it again, like it become really easy to just turn into the dude and, you know, be like the dude abides and not take care of yourself. Also getting sleep, and I feel a little hypocritical about like giving this. I think this is the advice for you and for me on this one, because as adults, most of us need 7 or 8 hours of sleep a night. And that's something I need to still get as much as I can. I think tomorrow's garage sale morning. I was like, maybe tomorrow. I like to have at least one day a week where there is no alarm set. And so it's okay if I end up going to bed late. I will just allow myself to sleep as long as I need to sleep. So if you can, make sure you're getting 7 or 8 hours of sleep every night. Me too. And then this is not a new one for me, but like having hobbies outside of reselling, because it can be very all-consuming. Especially when you first start or you're really into it and you just love it, having that just like take up everything because you're so excited and you're making money and you're finding cool things, but trying to find these hobbies outside of reselling is really good. Now, how long has it been since I've had a hobby? But now, I mean, this big shift in our move, we moved to Colorado, has really given me this like shunting force to like go seek out new things. So we've been going hiking, and I've been starting to do a lot more mindfulness, spirituality, like intuitive type things. And I'm going to be going to like a it's like this place where they do like sound baths and things like that. And so I'm trying to do more things like that. I'm gonna probably I haven't I got it's like stepping out of my comfort zone again. It's like getting back into dance. So I'm thinking about starting swing dance again, and it was just so fun. So trying to find these hobbies outside of reselling. Another way to beat burnout is to be continuously learning. There's so many different things to learn about. So whether you're taking an online course or there's a local course, like my library frequently has lots of different courses on small business ownership, marketing, all these different aspects that I just don't know. There was even one that has to do with using AI. They've got my library has a recording studio in it here where we moved, and so I've signed up to get the training for this recording studio, which I think is pretty cool. So just try to find ways that you can expand your knowledge, and that is always, even if it's in your niche, you're like, okay, like one of my big niches is jewelry. There is so much to learn about jewelry. It feels like a never ending. I could dive deep into just turquoise and just spend months learning about all the different kinds of turquoise and how to identify it and make sure this and this and that. You could dive deep into whatever your niche is. Like if you're doing clothing, just have fun with it. Dive into electronics if that's your thing, or video games and all the lore and realms of that. And if you're still feeling that burnout, take a moment to reevaluate things and adjust. Sometimes we can get so laser focused or just sort of tunnel vision, like this has to work, this has to work, this has to work, that we don't see. We're like, we need to open up our vision and see, like, you know what? There might be a reason this isn't selling. Maybe that I need to stop doing that, or maybe I have these priced too high or too low and I need to adjust that. So just take a moment to adjust and evaluate. And I've known so many people that have, I only sell on eBay. I only sell on Etsy. Nope, Poshmark's my place. I had somebody message me the other day. I do all these things for jewelry and I share my closet and this and that, and I'm just not getting any sales. And I said, I have not had very good luck on Poshmark. And if that is the only place you're selling on, you might want to expand that and try eBay and Etsy and Mercari and some other platforms, because it might just be the platform. And that's just the way it is. So it's good to have multiple different options. And when I first started selling, I actually started on Etsy. And I probably sold on Etsy for about a year before I added in eBay. Now, it would be hard, like if you're like, I'm going to go jump into all of them all at once. If you feel like it, go for it. I'm not going to discourage you. But, if you're a little timid about it, just step out onto one more and get comfortable. Okay, now I'm good with 2. All right, now add one more. It's like you're juggling, right? There goes 1. Okay, I can do 1. Okay, now 2. All right, and let me try 3. 3, okay, I got 3. And once you get comfortable, then comes the knives. So remember, this whole reselling journey, this small business ownership, entrepreneurship, it is a journey. There's not a finish line. There's not a destination. So it's really important to try to take care of yourself, try to take care of your business so that you can make this really sustainable for yourself, because there's so many perks to having a self-employed lifestyle that you just can't get when you're working for a boss for the most part. So if you found these tips helpful, leave a comment and share with a friend, and I will see you on the next video. Thank you for hanging out. Bye, you guys.